Hello everyone, my name is Kate Marshall. The name of my channel is called Inked Paper Art. Today is day 20 of 365 days of junk journal ideas. We are going to be playing with some fun things today, making an embellishment for our junk journals. These embellishments can be used a multitude of ways, and we'll talk about that. Let's go ahead and go over some supply lists so we can get started. The first thing that you're going to want today is some type of book page. It can be old rag paper book pages like I have here. These are rag paper. You could use regular book pages, any type of book page, any type, even newspapers, magazines with text. We're basically just looking for something with text on it. You could also alternatively, or in addition to, use music paper. So this is just a piece of music paper. What you're looking for if you want to use music paper is something where the music is fairly tight together, not a whole lot of open space. It just looks better in the end that way. So there's a couple of options for that. The next thing that you're going to want, this is a sheet of vellum. So you can see my hand through. This is vellum. If you didn't know, vellum is actually made out of plastic. You can purchase vellum a multitude of places. I'm going to link some, my favorite, below. I like a thicker vellum, so it's more durable. I will link it below. This is also vintage onion skin paper. So another option to replace your vellum is any type of thin, crinkly paper. Glassine paper will work. This is vintage onion skin that has the cockle finish on it. The cockle finish just is that little wrinkly, makes it look extra vintage. This is actually vintage onion skin. But let's go ahead and get started. So basically, supply list was some kind of thin, transparent, fun, crinkly material and some type of either music or book page. Then you're going to want some glue. I'm going to use art glitter glue today. The reason why I like art glitter is specifically for the vellum. Vellum, because it's plastic, some glues have a hard time sticking to it. So if you use art glitter, it will stick to vellum. You could use glue stick and try that. I'm going to be sewing on these when we're done. So you just want to make sure if you are sewing, like I will be, that you wait till your project is dry before you put it under your sewing machine. You don't have to sew. I'll talk about an alternative to sewing also. So let's get started. The first thing you're going to want to do is take your book pages, any type of text, whatever you're using, newspaper. If you have white area like these side margins to your book page like I'm using, you just want to take away the white area. It doesn't all have to be taken away, but as much of it as you can take away, the better your project will look in the end. So let's just take off these margins. Now, if you have a tear ruler will be very handy today. If you don't have a tear ruler, then, hand tear it like I am. And you're looking to tear your paper after you remove the white border. You're looking to tear your paper about an inch and a quarter, inch and a half. If it tears crooked like that, that's okay too. This one is a little too wide, so I'll go in and I'll tear down a little bit more, about an inch, inch and a quarter. You can make these thicker or thinner to your liking. I just prefer a little bit thinner for this layer. So there's that. So we have a couple pieces there. I'll go ahead and tear down one more quick. And then I know you guys are curious what we'll make in the end. I kind of kept it a secret today. Some of you may already know, but others will be very confused at this point. Hang in there. I'll tell you what we're making or show you what we're making. We're making it together. And so there we go. I've got some strips of text torn off to the side. And then I'm going to go ahead and use that vellum. Like I said, you could use onion skin, you could use glassine, whatever it is you want to use. So I'm going to take my vellum and I'm going to make my vellum slightly wider. I'm going to actually make it quite a bit wider here in the beginning, about a 2-inch fold on that. So about a 2-inch to my 1.25-inch book page. And I'm just going to tear it. I want this to be the rougher tear, the better, because if I don't get it torn very rough the first time, then I'm going to go in and I'm going to tear all 4 sides of this one so that it is a rough tear. And when you tear vellum, because it's plastic, you do need to go slow and just work it with your fingers and tear the edge. Vellum it doesn't tear like paper. It tears like some type of plastic material. So I've got a nice rough edge on that side, and then I just want to match that with this side here. So just tearing down that side. You want to keep the vellum, the translucent piece, whatever you're using for your crinkly see-through piece in the back. You guys don't know what's in the back, but in the back, whatever you use for that layer, just make sure that layer is wider than your text layer or your music layer, your print layer. So now we have a strip that looks like this. It's pretty rough torn. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to crinkle it in my hand. And when you're crinkling vellum, you want to be careful with it because it will break and tear quite easily. A little tear is okay. If it tears in two, we can probably repair that. But I'm just crinkling it very lightly in my hand there. And so we're just going to crinkle it all up really good. And I'm just going to ball it into a ball there. Okay, so we have crinkled strip of vellum. And so I'm going to unfold that, and I'm going to do my best to kind of smooth that out there. I'm worried about smoothing that middle channel there, okay? Next, you want to take your art glitter glue or whatever you're using, and you want to make a nice little wide channel down the center of your vellum. Don't go all the way out to the edge. Keep your glue in the center there, like that. And then from there, we're going to take our book page and we're going to tear off any excess white at the top or the bottom. And we're going to take that book page and we're going to glue it in a very specific way. So touch it at the top up there and hold it with your finger. Then take two fingers. I'm going to try my best. Take two fingers and you're just going to fold it up in on itself, leaving a space. Fold it up in on itself, leave a space, fold it up in, leave a space, fold it up in. Do you guys know what we're making yet? Fold it in. And so if you go a little crooked, just correct your course as best you can. That was the first piece of my book page. So now I need to attach another piece of book page there. So I'm just going to, again, tear off any excess white. And I'm going to first glue that little attachment there. And then again, two fingers, fold it, and I'm just folding it up in on itself there, leaving that space in between. Fold it, and just keep going all the way down. If you go a little crooked, if you go a little off the page, it's all good. I have a white space there, and so I'm going to keep going just a little bit more. And if your pages are not specifically the same width, that's okay too. When we use these, we're going to cut these up in the end anyway. You could use it whole, but if you cut it, you get a couple of little pieces to play with. So I'm just making that fold, just so you see what I'm doing. I'm just making that fold like this. And I'm leaving a little bit of space in between my folds. And the more imperfect those little spaces are in between your folds, the better, in my opinion. So I got down here to the end, and I have a little bit left over. To me, it's not worth adding another piece, so I'm just going to tear that off. And we have something that looks like this. Do you guys know what this is yet? This is called a paper ruffle. And so what we do with these is we decorate down the sides of our pages and things like that. We're not done here yet. So you've got it like this. It's all on. It's on your vellum. You've glued the two pieces together. Set this aside and let this dry for a good 15 or 20 minutes, depending on your climate. Then when you get it dry, run it through the sewing machine. If you are sewing, I'll talk about if you're not sewing, but if you are sewing, run it through the sewing machine, and you just want to start up here at the top, put your sewing machine on like a zigzag stitch and just stitch through. My sewing machine takes it right through just like fabric, and it's perfect. And I have a couple finished ones here to show you. So after I took it to the sewing machine, well, first of all, this is what I did in the sewing machine. I just did a zigzag stitch. And so I don't know if you guys can see with my bright light today, but I just did a zigzag stitch all the way down the center. I used a very light colored thread because I generally don't use a lot of black thread. So this is my tea dye color thread. So I just did a zigzag down the center. Then after that step, you're not finished. You gotta take some ink and ink up the edges of your paper and ink up the edges of your vellum. And then you want to take it and ruffle it up a little bit. You don't want it so flat because when it comes out of the sewing machine, generally it's pretty flat there. So ruffle it up a little bit. This is what we ended up with. This is what we do. Most people will add them to the edges of a page. Usually not all the way down. Like I would probably tear this and make two out of it. So after you sew it, you can tear, but you're going to run into your thread. So you're going to have to cut it at some point to your thread, right? So then we just add a little bit of it as a little page embellishment. Now you could add it so that it's some kind of a tuck if you went all the way down. You could decorate a pocket edge with it, but you end up with these cute little paper ruffles. And if you have, a lot of us have offcuts in our scrap bin because, when you cut down paper, you end up with these little strips. This is a great project to use those little strips up. Get them out of your scrap bin. So this is what we're doing today. We're doing paper ruffles. I'm going to quickly make one out of music paper. So here's the music paper. You can go any direction in the music paper. It really doesn't matter. I'm just going to take the longest section here and I'm going to make it fairly thin. And I'm just going to tear that little piece. Now, if you have a jagged edge tear ruler to tear your vellum, or your, let's use this time. This is onion skin. If you have a jagged edge tear ruler, that might be very helpful because you won't have to hand tear, to make that jaggedy edge. So I'm trying my hardest to make that jaggedy there. We have time. Let's make one with onion skin and music paper. So first thing I'm doing is I'm tearing the top and I'm tearing the bottom. And I just like them to be rough. Now you don't have to do it rough. You could do yours where everything's all squared off. That's okay too. If you don't have the wider section be the back section, that's okay too. It's just a different look. And so this one's actually pretty skinny after I tore it down. We'll see if we get anything to show through there. So this is the paper, and I'm just going to take off the little white bits. And let's use this side. We'll start this way. And so I'm going to go ahead and crinkle up my base layer. This is onion skin. It's pretty durable. So I'm going to just crinkle it. Glassine would work, like I said, if you have glassine paper. Glassine does come in sheets if you didn't know. And so then I'm going to go ahead and put my glue in there. Just doing little swirlies so that I get it spread. I don't want it too thick because I want this to dry fairly quick so I can run it through the sewing machine. So then we're going to take our music paper and we're going to fan fold that music paper, sticking it at the top. And then I'll do it so that you guys can see where I've got two fingers. I think using your two fingers kind of helps you fold that paper down on itself. Now this is a little bit thicker paper and it's working just fine. And like I said, if you get a section where it's not straight, you went a little crooked, you didn't quite get the spacing right, it doesn't matter. In my opinion, it looks better the more uneven it is. We need another sheet of music. I'll get one quickly. Quickly. I hope you guys are having a great day today. Today is a holiday for many people and a lot going on in the news today. This one is thinner, and so whenever you have two pieces that aren't the same size, you're going to end up with a thick spot and a thin spot in your little paper ruffle, and that looks good too. And like I said, if you didn't like the fact that they're two different sizes, then you're going to cut it and tear it. Okay, because you can make these really long. You don't have to just make them. Like you could keep going forever. You could make them by the yard. Lots of people make these and sell these on Etsy because people, it's a really nice embellishment for a junk journal, but people don't always like to make their own embellishments. Sometimes it's just easier to have somebody pre-make one for you. So you can see that my paper is a little too wide up here. Another easy fix is to go in and edit that. If you didn't really like the way that the paper looked there, it's just still got a little white edge there too. So I'm going to go ahead and edit that out. Then I'm going to ink this. I usually run it through the sewing machine before I ink, because after you've sewn it, it's really, really durable and sturdy. So when you're going in there with your inking tool, you don't have to worry about, like, you know, tearing it or something like that. After they're sewn, they're very sturdy. So anyway, that's what we did today. We're going to learn how to make some paper ruffles. Maybe you guys already knew how, but you forgot about them. They're an old idea, but not very many people are doing them. I don't see them being used a lot in junk journals, but they're really effective, really great ways to decorate up the side of a page. Just something fun. Hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you again tomorrow with day 21 of 365 ideas. Bye, guys.